Welcome back to Reliable Sources. I'm Brian Stelter. Fox News is trying to make a clean break with the past. Ousting Roger Ailes last summer, ousting Bill O'Reilly this week. The Murdochs, the men who control the company, say they are trying to make things right. But the network, Fox News, is still the subject of a grand jury investigation over whether there were settlements to alleged harassment victims that were disguised in some way, not disclosed to investors. This could be a very big deal going forward, this federal investigation. Now, Fox's ratings have held up very well overall. Even when O'Reilly was off last week, there were people filling in. But can Fox hold on to its title as conservative media juggernaut? And what's going to happen with this investigation? Joining me now with Insight, Laura Coates, a former federal prosecutor and CNN legal analyst, and David Zurwick, a media critic with the Baltimore Sun. Thanks both for being here.
Thank you.
Laura, there's so much we don't know about this federal investigation. The existence of it has leaked out. We know one of the elements involves alleged settlement payments and whether investors knew about them. Tell us how this is going to transpire, right? There's been reports of grand jury meetings. What could be happening right now, and how does this usually go about?
So remember, the grand jury process is designed to be secretive. Also, what is alleged to have been secretive was that Fox News was paying settlements in the form of a salary payment so investors would not have to know about it. The reason this is important legally is because a company doesn't have to disclose every single payment it makes in terms of a settlement or otherwise to its investors. The linchpin is whether it is material information that would help to guide an investor's decision about whether or not to invest in the company. And arguably, a string of settlements that are made to reflect a corporate culture that may be harassing in quality or may show that there's a bigger business management problem would be material to any investor.
Material. I used to think material meant, well, if it's $1 billion company, it's $1 million. Maybe that's not material to the bottom line. But you're saying it's actually about more than that. It's about the reputation of the company, what could happen down the line to the company, that's what makes harassment payouts material.
Exactly. And of course, I'm not going to make anyone do math on a Sunday morning, but it does come down to the numbers in terms of how this would play. Normally, it'd be a drop in the bucket. This is a very, very lucrative business.
Big company, right.
However, if these sorts of allegations were going to make the head of the company, the captain of that ship, Ailes, vulnerable to termination, and it did, or Bill O'Reilly, arguably the leader of the network in terms of its ratings, vulnerable to termination, which it now did, an investor wants to know that this is down the pipeline to decide what they should be doing. And if it was not disclosed to an investor, that's a big problem to the SEC.
So this is the cloud that now hangs over the Murdochs about this federal investigation. David Zurwick, isn't the other angle of this sprawling story, we talk about the money involved here. We've talked about the ad boycott and what effect that had. We've talked about internal pressure at Fox, what impact that had. What about the Sky deal in Britain? The Murdochs trying to have this big deal go through in Britain. And there's a concern regulators might try to block it if they don't think the Murdochs are a fit and proper owner.
Yeah, well, they have more time. They delayed it now so more people can come forward and testify about it. And I absolutely think that's a concern. It may have been one of the reasons that Fox was trying to move swiftly on this phase of it. Absolutely. I think that's a real problem. That is real money, even by any broadcasting company standards.
Yeah, the regulators said they would review the deal by May. Now they're saying they need until June. So it does create this further delay. Ultimately, David, is it discouraging that this was all about money, that it was all about O'Reilly getting paid $25 million on the way out to never appear again? Or is that encouraging? Is it encouraging to activists in a situation like this?
Brian, you know, the one thing I've learned, it took me about 15 years to learn that the answer to every question about television is always money. Every question about media, I think, is always money. So that's not surprising to me. Sure, it's discouraging that Ailes and O'Reilly get these kinds of payouts. It's discouraging to people, and I'm sure you heard the same kind of jokes in the morning about, wow, this is what you get paid for bad behavior in this society. It is a bad model, but look, I think it's important that these two guys were taken down. I think it's only the start. Now the hard work comes for the Murdoch brothers. If they want to really go in there and root out the rest of the culture, this is a culture that's been in place for over 20 years. You know, the Allison's interview with you this morning was really, really powerful. She described that moment when it's out of body and you see your career ending if you make a choice. Women went through that for a long time. Then the way they reciprocated by not advancing her career, Brian, other people had to know. Middle-range managers have to know, why isn't this woman being promoted when she's the best person on my team right now? They knew what it is. They went along with it. You have to move it down. Look, Bill Shine has been named in a number of these cases. In a number
Bill Shine,
of these
the current co-president of Fox
right.
News. Yeah.
You have to look at that. If the Murdoch brothers go there, then it gets bloody. That's when you changing a culture of 20 years is very hard work. You cut off the head, you got rid of the new face of this sick culture, but there's a lot more work to be done for Fox. I really believe that. And if they stop here, they're going to have a problem. And I think some of this is going to come up in that European testimony.
Fox says, for example, 96% of Fox News employees have now gone through harassment and sensitivity training. They now know about the hotline to call. Laura, what does all this mean for further exposure to lawsuits? I mean, there are some other pending suits involving Fox personnel and Ailes. Is it possible that if you remove O'Reilly, you remove Ailes, that makes it a lot easier for the company to defend itself in these suits or to settle for a lower amount?
It does advance their defense that they're trying to revamp the corporate culture. What it doesn't do is erase or excuse any knowledge they may have had at the time these actions were occurring. Remember, just because it came to light now to the rest of the world does not mean that it was not well known to the management or executives at Fox News. If that is the case, if they essentially sanctioned this sort of culture, then I would say they're being very vulnerable to future suits that say, look, you can no longer do what you did with Gretchen Carlson, which is say, we had no idea this was possibly happening. Now you were aware of Bill O'Reilly, you were aware of other settlements. Surely you knew about my case as well.
Laura Coates, David Zerwick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.